You don't mind if I smoke, do you? In New York, when I asked that, no one even answered me. They said, back in the back bedroom, they're doing up some coke. But in California, when I asked them that, they looked at me with, I wasn't even thinly disguised contempt. It was utter revulsion. But for me, it's always been coffee and cigarettes. I think it's a combined drug effect. I have to really thank those Arabian Mohammedans for turning the British onto the bean of that bush when brewed up makes a real stimulating beverage. And I know a lot of people like to smoke and drink. I think for most of you, though, it's alcohol, because whenever I walk in a bar, I'm hit with a solid wall of smoke. Bogart, right? A lot of the mood of smoking is still influenced by the 40s, and the style of smoking was learned, at least by me, from all those old 40s movies. You know, Humphrey Bogart. When I was a teenager, I thought he was really cool. And you know, in wartime it makes sense, because if your future is really in doubt, and in the 40s a lot of people thought the future was really in doubt, you might as well smoke. Oh yeah, remember Now Voyager? You know, smoking was romantic. Remember Paul Heinrich? He was going to light up 2 cigarettes, you know, one for himself and one for Betty Davis. You remember that? Here. This is for you, Camille. He called her Camille. Oh, if you're a smoker, you have to learn how to bum, because you're going to be caught up short sooner or later. The best bumming rap I ever heard was Gary Crum. I have to credit him. You know, I've traveled around the world and I've smoked many fine cigarettes, but I've never smoked a finer cigarette than a, what's that you're smoking? Camel cigarette. You wouldn't perchance happen to have an extra with you, sir? You know what the physiology of smoking is, right? Tobacco, the smoke, the nicotine goes in your lungs, it's absorbed into the bloodstream, and right away adrenaline is released. And that stimulates the lung muscles of the body and makes you feel strong and gives you a good feeling of physical well-being. And also it stimulates the brain, so you know, you can think faster and you think you're smarter. And then the secondary effect is that it tranquilizes you. And that's why I always have to light up a cigarette whenever I get any bad news. Oh, you know about reward psychology, right? That's when you use this as a chemical reward. And you tell yourself, I'm going to postpone lighting up the cigarette until I do this really odious thing that I've got to do. Like go out and try and collect some money that's owed to me. And you know, I thought maybe I can use reward psychology to quit smoking. I'll just delay gratification until after I do this really odious thing that I've got to do, which in this case is quitting smoking. You know, smoking's a source of security. You know, it gives me something to hold on to. And it gives me something to focus on in my social interactions so that I can put my attention right here, and then I don't have to worry about what other people are thinking or what I'm thinking. And also, when I stopped the car and gassed up, I bought an extra pack of cigarettes, so then I know I'm not going to run out until at least tomorrow. So that's really a source of security. You know, smokers laugh in the face of death, even as they beckon death closer to them. And I think it's because smokers are kind of sacrificial victims in a way. Or at least they're sacrificing some future, probably some worse future when you're old, and you know, it all happens when you're young, right? So you sacrifice or you trade off some future for more now. You know, Tom Robbins said in that Still Life with Woodpecker, that the smoker's lungs are the virgin that's tossed into the caldera, or the crater of the volcano. You know, tobacco is an Indian word. Yeah, when the white man came over here, he found the Indians puffing away. But they didn't smoke 20 cigarettes a day. They only smoked at sacrifices or state occasions or ritually. They smoked a peace pipe. But you know, Indians knew that this is a hallucinogen. And that's why they didn't smoke it very often and build up their tolerance. And then that way, when they needed it, it would really do its thing for them. It's a member of the Solanaceae family. You know, Nicotiana tabacum. There's some other plants in that family that are chock full of these alkaloids, like deadly nightshade, belladonna, jimsonweed or devilweed, you know, Datura stramonium. It's got atropine, scopolamine. And there are a lot of other useful plants in that family, like red pepper and potato and tomato, but I've never smoked any of those. You know, there's a green lady that lives in the tobacco plant, and the Indians would say she's a spirit. Once you get to know her, you don't know what's good for you because you fall in love with her immediately. She's really enticing and alluring, and she promises to give you, you know, well-being and a feeling of plenitude and happiness, you know, anytime, basically on demand, if you'll just be her devoted slave. Oh, but she's a green-eyed monster too. She's jealous because if you don't pay any attention to her for a couple of days, she's going to wake you up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat with a headache. And you're going to have to put on your coat over your pajamas and run down to the 7-Eleven and see her. Well, I went through a period of rolling my own cigarettes in the early 70s when I was a student because I could buy a can of Bugler tobacco for under $2 and it would last a week. At least that's how long it took for the can to go stale. And I had to become a craftsman because to roll a good cigarette, I mean, if you roll them too thin, you know, they go out. And so I had to learn to be a craftsman and really roll a good cigarette. And then that got me thinking about sculpture because it was like a making, you know, elemental making impulse. And so then I decided to do a performance piece. I got this lighter, a Zippo lighter, and it's pretty big. And it said Dave on the side of it. It was engraved with the word Dave. So I decided to do a performance piece where I'd light anyone's cigarette. If they pull out a cigarette in front of me, I'd light it. And that was like a performance piece I did for a year. And then someone stole my lighter. So in 1975, I did this tape here. Well, that's my warning that the high point of this tape is coming up here. There.